our social groups, and all of society. And so what we will deem to do after the black has been established and we have that clear mandate from the heads, then we are able to now go to the general public, to the people, speaking to what would be the way forward, and to seek now to put the systems in place through the IMCC to Cabinet to make sure that St. Kitts and Nevis continues on the path to readiness for whatever time St. Kitts and Nevis agrees to become a part of the free movement.
And the readiness includes, of course, meeting with these various groups and organizations.
Yes. Okay. So we'll meet with them tomorrow at the leadership level, and then we will ask them to present information, ideas, suggestions, concerns when it comes to this matter, so that we can know, well, what the youth think about it. What are the concerns youth may have? What are the concerns that the bankers may have when it comes to it? What are the concerns of Social Security? What are the concerns of maybe the Ministry of Agriculture? And so by the time we've put that together, we are seeking to have a holistic approach on the national level that we can now take forward as the way forward for St. Kitts and Nevis as we seek to be ready for the Free Movement Initiative.
It is 10 minutes past the 11 o'clock hour, and you're listening to The Edge here on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM. So in our last discussion, Mr. Vaughn, you made mention of a meeting to be had with CARICOM heads.
The heads continue to meet, yes. It's now the third meeting of the 36th intersessional session of the heads, because there was a first meeting. That first meeting had to be suspended and reconvened on the 15th. Then they met again on the 23rd for same meeting. So it comes under the heading of the 36th intersessional session of the heads. And what has been happening in each of these sessions is that the heads have been looking at the information, the details that have been put forward by the Intergovernmental Task Force that was created to bring CARICOM to a level of readiness to present and prepare and say, yes, we are now going into the free movement. Unfortunately, a lot of the suggestions have not been agreed to in the fine details. And so there has been some trading, some negotiating, some positions being put forward so that each member state has that level of understanding and appreciation for what is going forward. And so we all get what we want out of it. Okay. And so on the 23rd, when the heads met last, there were a few issues that needed to be reconsidered as they had implications for some member states. These have been ironed out in the sense that they must now, having been agreed to, must now be put into legal language. Because although you have an idea of what you want, if it is not coded in the law, and in the law we are speaking here of the revised treaty of Chaguaramas, a protocol must now, or an amendment must now be made to bring these provisions into. And so the Legal Affairs Committee has been reconstituted to hear the concerns, to draft and to codify these concerns into the proposed protocol, so that the heads will have to meet once again after that Legal Affairs Committee would have met, would have drafted. So we are looking well into perhaps April at this time. And so that in essence says that whatever fears we have, that on March 31st this year, all things will go haywire, St. Kitts would just automatically have its doors open. That is not the case. The work is being done systematically. There is a level of cooperation and collaboration across the region at the level of the heads, the Legal Affairs Committee, the Intergovernmental Task Force, so that at the end of the day, with that joint consideration, contemplation, we will now have something that we can bring to the people. Because as I said the last time, my number one fear would have been that I'm going to the public with little or half the information,
right,
and then I would have to pedal back because here we have negotiations going forward that have not yet been finalized. So when that information is available for what has been finalized, what has been decided upon, then we now would have to now have that conversation with the people and put the systems in place at our IMCC or our BLAC to either have the consultation or to put the strategies in place to make sure that we are effectively moving forward on this great initiative of free movement.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Vaughn. It is 11:15, and we do want to hear from the callers, the various questions, ideas, suggestions. So we're going to open up the phone lines very early for today. You can call us at 465-2555 or 718-577-2916. Please ask your questions, make them concise, and be mindful of other callers as they too would want to make a contribution. Mr. Vaughn is here to answer the questions as it relates to the full
interaction with the people.
CARICOM Nationals, so any questions that you may have. But we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll open the phone lines.
A Samsung tablet today.
Boy, what much madness is this?
Girl, Digicel is giving away a tablet a day for 20 days when you activate any Prime plan. Switch to Digicel, sign up for new home internet, or even when you pay a monthly bill in full. Tracy, where you going so fast?
I coming back. I go and make sure I qualify to win.
But Lord, you can dial *141 sign to activate plans or pay bills in the My Digicel app, or visit any Digicel store to sign up for new internet and switch. New winners are announced daily. It's madness in March. 20 Samsung tablets in 20 days.
A Samsung tablet today.
Simply more rewards and more value. Digicel, better together. Promotion ends March 2024.
From the heart of ZIZ Radio comes a political talk show like no other. The Edge, with host Devonne Cornelius giving you his take on the biggest stories happening in governance today. Got something to say? Let's hear it. Give us a call at 869-465-2555, Monday to Friday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. One solid hour of in-depth analysis of the machinery that makes our country tick. The Edge, cutting into the matters at hand.
Get ready, St. Kitts and Nevis, for the first annual Jesus in the City Parade and Festival on Saturday, May 18th, 2024 at the Warner Park Stadium. Celebrate love for God and love for people throughout the city with festive floats, live gospel bands, choirs, costumes, banners, and paraders filling the streets of downtown Bastille with praise and worship. The opening festivities kick off at 11 a.m. with the parade leaving Warner Park Stadium at 12 noon, moving along city streets and returning to the stadium for a grand gospel concert celebration. Enjoy music featuring special international guest artists, local bands, food and festivities for the whole family. Come lift up the name of Jesus in the city on Saturday, May 18th, 2024. To register your church, enter a float, secure a vendor booth, or to become a sponsor, visit jesusinthecity.com or call 662-8911.
Jesus in the city, hands in the air.
You're listening to ZIZ Radio, the golden voice of the nation.
Welcome back to the Edge here on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM. I'm your host Devonne Cornelius, and if you're just tuning in, joining me today is St. Kitts and Nevis Ambassador to CARICOM, Larry Vaughn, and we are on the topic of the full free movement of CARICOM Nationals. The phone lines are now open and we're taking your calls. Let's take our first call for this morning. A caller, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Mr. Moderator, and good morning, Mr. Vaughn. My voice is not 100%, but I will try to say something. Now, I think I understand what this thing is all about, but I only have one simple concern, and this is it. Language barrier. This is my basic problem. I do not see any other problem, so to speak, as regards to economic growth, with any other thing. But language barrier is very much important. And today here in St. Kitts, we are facing a kind of situation where we have two countries are likely to send and still sending their people to our shores. Some come in legally and some illegally. My grave concern is this. When we only have 50,000 population, and those two countries have almost 25 million, how can I equate that? 50,000 against 25 million. By 2, 3, 4 years down the road, you have roughly about 1, 2, 3, 400,000 of those people coming to our shores. Can St. Kitts hold them physically? Can St. Kitts support them medically and otherwise? I think we are facing a serious problem if we allow those French people and Spanish people flock our shores. Right. I am saying no to that. I don't have a problem with the Commonwealth citizens coming in because we are accustomed to that.
All right, caller. Thank you.
I cannot relish these people coming.
Yeah, thank you, caller, for your contribution to the program. Let's head back to the phone lines and do we have any more calls? All right. Mr. Vaughn, you could go ahead and respond to that.
I want to thank that caller for the concern raised about language. Mm-hmm. At this point, the arrangement we are seeking to deliver has no language barrier issue to it. One is speaking of two countries, and because those countries have not been named, I will not seek to name them either. But to understand that the CSME is made up of the following countries, and these are the countries that will have free movement. They are Antigua and Barbuda, Belize, Barbados, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Suriname, and Trinidad and Tobago. As such, I'm happy that someone has raised this concern because others may consider it to be a concern. But at this time, the language barrier is not a component of this because these are all English-speaking countries.
Thank you so much for that. It's 11:22. Let's head back to the phone lines and we'll take some more calls. We lost that caller. 465-2555 or 718-577-2916. We are also live on ZIZ TV and social media platforms. So thank you so much for joining. We have some more callers. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Good morning.
Yeah, hi. Good morning to you and good morning to Mr. Vaughn. Now, are there calculations being had ahead of time to let the process make sense with respect to the quantum that St. Kitts, for example, could receive over a period of time? We are given situations, we have our parameters with respect to everything, our capacity. Now, could we say to them that yes, we will be a part of this, but with qualifications, meaning that for 2024, the rest of it, we cannot accommodate any more than 350 more persons to be an integral part of our environment without encountering major problems. Are there calculations to be done? Can a country say, well, we have reached our maximum at which we can comfortably and without putting our people under duress, Are there such calculation? Are there such consideration? Because a country cannot take and take and take and take. Are there calculations to be done, to be offered up as guidance as to how much we can accept in 2024, how much we might be able to accept in 2025? Are there those intricate calculations being carried out before we open up our doors?
All right. Thank you, caller.
I will listen out for you.
Thank you for your contribution to the program. Do we have any more callers on the line? Mr. Vaughn?
I thank that caller for expressing the concern about the carrying capacity. And this is one of the things that the IMCC will undertake, that interministerial, our statistics, our ministries that deal with infrastructure, our water capacity, electricity capacity, sustainable development on lands for development and expansion, agriculture, all this will have to be discussed. And this is what we want to take that 3-year intervening process to do. We are not committing at this time to open the borders in 2024 or 2025 or even 2026 at this time until we have had that understanding and we have worked towards having the information and the data. That is where I started last week to discuss that decision based on information and data. And so we must now know what would be our carrying capacity. But at the same time, we are saying that we want that there is an environment across CARICOM at the same time, that there is parity. And I discussed that last week as well.
Right.
And what parity would do is that it would cause no country to become just a receiving country. There would be such I don't want to say equality, but there's such a level of comparative advantage and comparative relationship between the different states, so that each country would have its attraction, and so there would be no one country standing out to become a totally receiving country. And so there will be these economic concerns, because the concerns here are more physical and environmental, that was raised by the caller. But we must balance these with the social concerns, the economic concerns, the environmental concerns, and the cultural concerns. And we must bring them together for a level of sustainability and to make sure that we are not just looking at 2024 or 2025 as the caller is suggesting. We want to look even for a next 10 years. How do we work into the advantage of St. Kitts and Nevis over the next 10 years, balanced with what are the concerns for immigration, concerns for education, concerns for healthcare, so that we can make sure that as many persons as come in would help to build the systems to sustain a population that is increased.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Vaughn. We want to head back to the phone lines and take some more calls. Do we have any callers? It is 11:28 and you're listening to The Edge here in ZIZ Radio, 96.1 FM. The phone lines are open at 465-2555 or 718. I do believe we have a caller now. Let's take this caller. Caller, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. I'm back. Just a bit of clarification. I must be specific now. The people who I'm talking about is the Santo Domingo people and the Haitians. They do not speak English. But I do not have any problem with my other Caribbean English-speaking people. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, sir, can I...
We've been around for some time and we understand
Excuse me, caller. Before you hang up, caller.
The Spanish and the French. Only that, limited there. And in addition to that, the volume of them.
Caller?
In truth and in fact, time to come, we British would lose our identity.
Caller? Okay. The caller wants to continue down the road, even though information has been provided. I think I've listed 13 countries with the inclusion of St. Kitts and Nevis, that will be a part of the free movement. The two countries which he has named are not, and I repeat, are not part of the free movement. And so if we find that there are nationals of these countries coming to St. Kitts and Nevis, they will not be coming into St. Kitts and Nevis as part of the CARICOM free movement. They are not members of the CARICOM single market and economy. One of those countries he spoke of is a CARICOM member. However, that country, while being a part of CARICOM, is not a part of the free market, the free movement, the single market and economy. And so I would love for the listener to have that understanding that while there are concerns being expressed about these two countries, these are not founded concerns when it comes to the free movement, as these countries are not, and I repeat, are not members of the CARICOM single market and economy through which there will be the free movement.
Thank you for that, Mr. Vaughn. You're listening to The Edge. Let's head back to the phone lines and we'll take some more calls. Hello, caller. Good morning.
Can you name the two countries them that are not allowed?
No, I can name the 13 countries that are part, because you see, any country beyond the 13 I'm listing are not part of it. So let me list the 13 countries again. They are Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Belize, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Suriname, and Trinidad and Tobago.
All right.
So if you have not heard, if you haven't heard the country Liechtenstein or Cambodia, they are not part of it. Any country you have not heard, they are not part of it. That's all I'm saying. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Mr. Vaughn. Do we have any more callers on the line? We do. We'll take some more calls. Okay, we seem to have lost that caller. You're listening to The Edge here on ZIZ Radio, and if you're just tuning in, Mr. Larry Vaughan has joined me here today to speak on the matter of the full free movement of CARICOM nationals. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation for today.
Join us every Wednesday for In Focus, a weekly talk show produced by the St. Kitts Nevis Information Service, where we provide exclusives with key persons within the government and discuss pertinent, relevant, and interesting matters that affect us all. Tune in every Wednesday, live on ZIZ Radio and streamed live on Facebook at SKNIS Media and ZIZ Online. In Focus, your government, your business.
Look out, this is it. Something new, something fresh, something exciting. Jump off show on ZIZ Radio with the man Chico. Yo. Every Monday to Thursday, Chico will be in the house with the 3 to 6 minutes. So tell your neighbors, tell your friends about this exciting show on ZIZ Radio, the Jump Off Show. Every Monday to Thursday, 3 to 6. Don't miss it. While the others give you some, we give you more. Right here on ZIZ Radio. Watch the creep.
Welcome back to The Edge. I'm your host, Devonne Cornelius, and in studio with me is Larry Vaughan, St. Kitts and Nevis Ambassador to CARICOM, and we're speaking on the full free movement of CARICOM nationals. Mr. Vaughan, again, thank you so much for joining me. We will wrap up a few minutes before the 12 o'clock hour for our midday newscast, but we do want to take some more callers to give them an opportunity to ask their questions, as you are the man to respond to them as it relates to the free movement of CARICOM nationals. The phone lines are open, and we are taking your calls, 465-2555. Let's take this one. Hello, caller. Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Hi, good morning. Now, I was listening a bit not too long, and I was hearing about the CARICOM nationals, but I think we are still not looking at the big picture. Our biggest picture beside our Caribbean brothers and sisters, yes, we have to do some limitation, but we have an open door. I could call it an open door because they're just spreading in and filling out the whole place as far as they're concerned, taking over a lot of places, and we people who are boosting them because we support them heavily. I don't mind the Taiwanese, but the Chinese, that's the biggest problem we have here in this country as far as the concerned. They are spreading out like ants, and they're going to get worse and worse and worse. Yes, we have to limit our Caribbean people. I mean, do what we have to do and make sure everything is efficient before we bring them. I understand. I quietly understand that. But the Chinese system, they're just rushing in, bringing in to work, doing this, doing that, and as far as the concerned, all the islands in the U.S., they're not realizing that the Chinese are surrounding the whole world with this kind of a thing. They send the people out here, cheap labor, whatever they do, they give them support to do what they got to do, come and spread out in all the countries. And we people here think it, and we're leaving our local people and supporting them. All the money going back to China, they ain't doing nothing here. Right. I don't want the Taiwanese. The Chinese are good. They're helping us a lot, and they're not spreading in here. So we got to look at that bigger picture. That's our biggest picture we have around here. Thank you.
Thank you, caller, for your contribution to the program. The phone lines are open, 465-2555 or 718-577-2916. Mr. Vaughn, I had some questions that were given to me that I got from social media, and one of the questions I had to do with is there a, and I think you kind of touched on this earlier, but the question, I'll ask it still, is there a limit to the amount of people who would be allowed to come in as skilled laborers? And the second question was, will the full free movement of CARICOM nationals be different from the CARICOM skills certificate? So those are the two questions that I wanted to share with you.
There is and there will not be a limit on skilled labor. The whole concept of the skilled labor was well, I can't even say the first. It would have been like the second tier or the second level of getting into full free movement. Mm-hmm. The first step that CARICOM took was to have a 6-month mandatory arrangement where once I am a citizen of or a national of a CARICOM state and I enter another CARICOM state, I am guaranteed 6 months of entry without any questions asked. Then a second step was taken where it was said, okay, if you have skills certified in key areas that were named, you can enter and have your skill certificate granted, and you can remain in the state of another indefinitely using those skills. The desire now is to broaden those categories now to a point where all persons, because we believe all Caribbean people do have skills, and the skills may not be in the limited 17 areas that were identified. And so we want to be able now to broaden to perhaps even artisans and boat builders, because it doesn't clearly state boat building in it. But suppose we have people around here who are boat builders. Mm-hmm. They can do work in other member territories and would not need to have a limitation of 6 months or need a work permit or need to have the skill certificate, because that now means we have to go back every time and add categories until you're adding everybody. And so the idea now is to ensure that there is that full and clear free movement. And then the second part of the question was, is there a difference between the skill certificate and the full? Mm-hmm. The full is the extreme where, and I'm saying extreme, but it's the culmination of where other skills that are not now identified would now be able to move. And so we want all our people to be able to move freely, and that is what will be covered with the full free movement.
Thank you so much for that explanation, Mr. Vaughn. It is 11:40. You're listening to the Edge here in ZIZ Radio. The phone lines are open and we're taking your calls. Call us at 465-2555 or 718-577-2916. Caller, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Hi, good morning. Mr. Vaughn, you just spoke about two different types of certificates. One that has a list attached to it, and there's another one thing you call it full. If I'm a barber and I'm going to one of our territories, sister territories, and want to get work, I am a skilled barber here in St. Kitts, and I want to go in another territory just to work. How would that affect my movement, my free movement? I know this is skills, and they're talking about the different type that is outlined in plan number 1. But would plan number 2 include barbers and other service providers?
All right. Thank you, caller, for your question. Mr. Vaughn?
I'm quickly pulling up the categories to make sure, because you're asking a very good question. And the categories I am seeing are university graduates, artists like musicians or artists, and then artists, media workers, sports persons, nurses, teachers, artisans, holders of degrees, domestic workers, agricultural workers, and private security officers. Now, these are the areas where the skills certificates can be granted. Barbers are not included. And so what I'm saying is that when we move from the list, which I have just outlined, who are the list persons, barbers now can be included because you are first and foremost a national of the community, more so than a barber.
Okay.
So you can now move with your barber skills, understanding that you can now ply your trade in another member state. Maybe one member state then develops a film industry, and so they would need barbers and people to do makeup and hair and so forth. And so you can go and ply your trade now because you find that you are one of the best in the business. And so you are able to send your application and they accept you to come on as part of the production team and make sure that all these opportunities can become greater and available. At this point, if we go by the list, one would have an issue where one may need to have a work permit because one is a barber and is not listed on the list of skills that can move freely at this time.
All right, thank you so much for that, Mr. Vaughn. Do we have any more callers on the line? You're listening to The Edge. Hello, caller.
That's one other thing. Are you there?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Go ahead.
Okay. I am not so much thinking about the movie company, etc., etc. I know that here in St. Kitts, we are now pressed. Our local barbers are now pressed. I would even dare say pressed out because of others who are coming in, and seeing that there's no restriction. And I'm just wondering how equal would it be for St. Kitts barber to go into another territory and operate, not waiting for a film company, but open a barber shop, open a salon somewhere in St. John's, Antigua, Castries, St. Lucia, Rosa Dominica, or someplace else in our territory, or Kingston, Jamaica, for that instance.
All right.
How easy would that be for us?
It would be just as easy, sir. It would be just as easy because there will be what we call reciprocity. That the very same treatment you are giving to others, your citizens get that across the 12 member states who are a part of the CSME. So thank you very much for that question. I like the idea that you're saying, let our people be able to move as freely and establish.
All right, let's come back to the phone lines and we'll take some more calls. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Good morning.
Yeah, hi. Good morning again. Working on the assumption that we would have acceded and ratified to this initiative, and it's going merrily along. Is there an option to opt out of this arrangement or this accession? And if so, or let me not say if so, is there an option to opt out? Can you at some point in time as a country decide, well, you can no longer carry on this and start to unaccommodate those who might want to come in, or even take it to the extreme of deporting those who came in before? Do those people remain distinguishable from those who did not come in via the initiative? Can a tag be placed on them? And then, you know, these are the persons who came in via this initiative, and if push come to shove, we could start unaccommodating or even deporting these people. What are the legal implications if such a thing would take place?
All right, thank you so much for your contribution. Mr. Vaughn?
Pleasant good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning.
Ambassador, good morning.
Permit me to answer this question because it's quite a loaded question. And it is not a question that I would want to answer on behalf of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. The understanding that we are considering depriving others of a status that is equal across the member states says that we may want to enter this with unclear motives. And I would encourage us to have an understanding of how this arrangement can be for the benefit, the social, the economic, the cultural, and the ecological benefit of St. Kitts and Nevis. That we must be able to strategize to work towards it. And where we encounter difficulties, that we look to the mechanisms that CARICOM would have put in place, including the CARICOM Development Fund, which allows for more assistance in able to address whatever economic dislocations or social dislocations, and to provide the structural diversification and infrastructural development that would come with the initiative. That is what I want us to look at. For an exit at this point, if we come in looking for an exit, then we are not coming in looking to develop or come in to succeed within the relationship. And so I would ask us to strategically look at the way we can benefit from it, and wherever the concerns are, we now take that concern and turn it into a way that we can either mitigate the concern or we can turn that concern into a benefit, because it is possible. But it has to be the way we put our strategies in place, how we look at it from that broad consensus. And that is why we're looking at having the Interministerial Consultative Committee and the Business and Labor Advisory Committee to help to shape that dialogue. We are not looking at considering how we want to get out of it. That will be an unwise approach to take. And so I will not want to speak to that on behalf of the government to say we are exploring X, Y, or Z there. So I thank the caller for the concern, but to know that we are looking at being a part of it, but to be strategic and pragmatic in our approach. And so I invite that understanding of how we can be more strategic, how we can develop and how we can benefit on account of it.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Vaughn. It is 11:48. Ronnie, you wanted to ask the question?
Yes, I have a question, and I think that Larry said something about being strategic. And my question is really, if a CARICOM member comes to...
A CARICOM national?
National, yes.
Okay.
Comes to St. Kitts and end up committing a crime, found guilty, sentenced. After serving his sentence, does he has an automatic deportation or he can remain in the country?
Now, that is a concern we can raise. There will be a few different schools of thought. For example, if he had committed a crime and he has paid for the crime, does it make him no less a CARICOM citizen? Is it that are you saying that the St. Kitts and Nevis penal system does not reform people so he can come out reformed and become a productive person in the society? Are you saying then if we deport the person, there is cause to deport him because he committed an offense that he has been charged and served time for? Or is this a second phase of the punishment? Are we doing double jeopardy where it is because remember, in some countries, in other countries who deport people, they don't deport citizens. They deport people who have green card or residency and so forth. But remember, the arrangement now of free movement is that we are treating as equal the nationals of all member states. So where do you deport your citizens to after they have served crime? Do you tell a man from, well, I'll call Keys Village because I'm from Keys. Do you tell a man from Keys that after he has served time in prison that he cannot come back to Bastia?
Well, you know, it's the different ideology.
No, because we are shaping it as one space.
Okay.
We are shaping it as one space. And so what I hoped you were going to ask is if he served, if he committed a crime here and the police and the DPP wanted to try him, but he had run back to his country and let's say it is country X, how difficult it would be because of free movement to get him because he's back there now, or he run away from his country and come here. How difficult is it to get him back to his country to face the court? Now that is another issue which we are looking at with an extradition treaty across the member states to make it easier to get people back to a state where they need to be tried and to make sure that no one can hide as a result of that free movement.
So you're painting a really good picture as to show us just exactly how difficult this whole one state thing is going to work.
It is difficult. Nothing about development
because
is easy.
If we have 12 or 13?
13. 12 plus St. Kitts and Nevis.
13 countries with 13 different names, 13 different laws, 13 different sovereignties, and you're saying we are one. You notice the kind of problem.
Right. And so what we are doing is bringing our sovereignty together and having what we now call shared sovereignty. And I'm happy you are helping me to go back to where I started last week when I was here. And I spoke to how countries, like individuals, we develop moving from a state of dependency to independence to a greater level of shared sovereignty or interdependence. And so that is why you can have the agreements like the EU and other countries coming together, not because they are weak, but they understand that in their independence, in their sovereignty, they can now pool resources and become better and stronger. What do we have to do in the region is now to improve our systems and share those systems. So, for example, if we are looking at crime, you would have been hearing about the impacts. I don't know if you've heard of impacts before, and how impacts has now created a mechanism called the JRCC, which is the Joint Regional Communication Commission. And what they do, they get the information and they let every member state know who are the people coming to your countries on what are called the APIS or the APIS, the Advanced Passenger Information System. So now we are now pooling our resources for shared interaction, so that these mechanisms which would have been missing and would have caused disjointedness between us, we want to now bring them together. We want to work more cooperatively together. We want that our hotel and tourism associations across the region can now begin to promote multi-destination tourism, so that there is that free movement between our islands. The transition is easier, so that I can have a vacation and I plan to be in 4 of the different states over a week. And it makes it more attractive for the region. We can do more than now 6 million tourists a year. We can be up in now the 20 million tourists, because we have shared the pool and the resources, and we've worked out how we can do more together.
All right, but guys, we're out of time, so we're going to have to follow up and continue this conversation. Larry, I hope that you'll be able to join me sometime later as this continues.
As it continues, I promise I will be back. It will not be until the LAC has presented its findings to the heads, because the LAC has to meet, and it will meet in maybe 2, 3, or 4 sessions before it can present to the heads. So I might not be back in maybe like a month. I would give them the full time to ventilate, to do their work. But in the meantime, what I'll be doing is building the capacity of St. Kitts and Nevis by having those discussions with the private sector and our social organizations, and also build the capacity within the government ministries and departments, so that we can identify what are those key issues, so that we can begin to strategize the way forward, so that when we come to the people, we are not just coming with our hands tied, but we are coming with solutions to the very concerns that are here in our communities, because the concerns are genuine. Some are genuine on the account that the people do not have all the information, and so we have to be able to bring the information to the people. The concerns are also genuine because we already recognize that St. Kitts and Nevis is not prepared in these areas, X, Y, Z. We are not prepared. So we must bring the comfort to the people and the understanding that here are the solutions that we will work towards. We will present it to the cabinet. We will make sure that the government is prepared to deliver on these. And then there are those concerns about the wider Caribbean. We are seen as a receiving country. How we can make sure that there is parity. How we can discuss and make sure that by the time we make up our mind to get in, we are on an equal footing with others in key areas, so that we are not just seen as a receiving country, but that people are moving about for the benefit of work and business, more so than wanting to migrate, because the migration seems to be that issue. But we want to be able to ensure that, one, where the migration takes place, it is to the benefit of St. Kitts and Nevis as well.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Vaughn. You've been listening to The Edge here on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM. I've been your host, Devonne Cornelius, and if you tuned in late, joining me today was Ambassador Larry Vaughan, CARICOM Ambassador Larry Vaughan, speaking on the issue of full free movement of CARICOM nationals. Until next time, you guys stay safe. Coming up next is the ZIZ Media Newscast. Stay tuned.